Hello, neighbor. Come inside. Quickly now. Don't let the heat out. It is November. Here in the north, we call this the gray month. The glorious reds and golds of October have fallen and turned into brown mush on the forest floor. The trees stand like skeletons, stripping down to their bare bones to fight the wind. The sky is no longer blue, it is the color of steel wool. Low and heavy, the lake has turned a dark, brooding slate color, churning with whitecaps even when there is no wind. Most people hate November. They find it depressing. They flee south to Florida or Arizona. But I have always respected it. November is the serious month. It is the month that asks you a very simple question. Are you ready? I am standing at the kitchen window, holding a mug of hot tea to warm my hands. I am looking out at the driveway. Yesterday, the big truck came, a massive dump truck that shook the foundations of the house when it idled. The driver, a big man named Jacques with a beard like a bird's nest, pulled the lever. Rumble, rumble, crash. 4 cords of hardwood thundered onto my gravel driveway. That is a lot of wood. Neighbor, it is a mountain. It is a chaotic, jumbled pyramid of maple, yellow birch, and beech. It blocks the path to the garage. It smells intense, a sharp, raw, earthy smell of sap and damp bark. It smells like the forest opened up its veins. Looking at that pile, I feel a familiar tightening in my chest. Anxiety? Maybe a little. It is 4 cords. That's roughly 512 cubic feet of wood. Every single piece, every log, every wedge has to be picked up by human hands, my hands, and moved into the woodshed. It has to be done before the snow flies. And looking at those clouds gathering in the west, purple and bruised, the snow is coming sooner than we think. If the wood gets covered in snow before it's stacked, it won't dry properly. It will hiss and sputter in the stove instead of burning hot. And a cold stove in January, well, that's not an option up here. Arthur used to love this day. He called it the delivery. He would stand there with his hands on his hips, surveying the pile like a general surveying a battlefield. Look at that birch, Betty, he'd say. That's yellow gold. That'll burn hot enough to melt the hinges off the stove. He had a system. He had a rhythm. He could stack a cord of wood in a morning and barely break a sweat. He treated the woodpile like a piece of architecture. The ends had to be perfectly flush. The corners had to be cross-hatched like a log cabin for stability. A good woodpile, he told me, should be tight enough to keep a mouse out, but loose enough to let the wind through. Now, the driveway is silent. The truck is gone. Arthur is gone. It is just me and the mountain. I put my tea down on the counter. I zip up my heavy canvas parka, the Carhartt one that is stiff with age. I pull on my leather work gloves. They are cold and stiff, retaining the shape of my grip from last year. I pull my toque down over my ears. I step out onto the porch. The air is crisp, biting at my nose. It smells of ozone and coming snow. I walk up to the pile. I pick up the first log. It is a piece of sugar maple, heavy and dense. The bark is rough against my gloves. It feels cold and damp. I whisper, only about 4,000 more to go. This isn't just a chore, neighbor. It is a meditation. It is the oldest work there is. Before we had oil furnaces, before we had electric baseboards, we had this. We traded sweat for heat. There is an old saying, firewood warms you twice. Once when you chop it, and once when you burn it. Well, I didn't chop this, but moving it is going to warm me up plenty. I grab 2 logs, 1 in each hand. I feel the weight settle into my shoulders. I walk towards the woodshed. The gravel crunches under my boots. Crunch, crunch. The sky is getting darker. A single, rogue snowflake drifts down and lands on my sleeve. It doesn't melt. The race is on. I use the wheelbarrow now. It is an old metal one, rusted in the bed but strong in the frame. The tire is solid rubber because Arthur got tired of fixing flats. It squeaks rhythmically as I push it. Squeak, 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 squeak. That sound is the soundtrack of my November. I load the wheelbarrow at the driveway. Heavy maple logs at the bottom for ballast. Lighter birch and jagged pieces on top. I push it up the slight incline to the woodshed. My boots slip a little on the wet leaves. But I dig in. Easy does it, Betty, I mutter. Momentum is your friend. The woodshed is attached to the side of the garage. It is open at the front to let the wind scour through, but roofed to keep the rain off. It is essentially a wind tunnel designed for drying. I park the barrow and pick up a log. Now, neighbor, this is where the art comes in. You can tell a lot about a person by their woodpile. A messy pile means a messy mind. A pile that leans means a person who cuts corners. Arthur was a perfectionist, and he trained me well. You are building a wall, Betty, he used to say, tapping the end of a log with his pipe. It has to stand on its own against gravity. I start with the cribs at the ends of the row. This is the most critical part. You lay 2 logs parallel, then 2 logs across them perpendicularly, like Lincoln logs, like a Jenga tower. This creates a solid, square pillar that holds the whole row up. If your cribs are weak, the whole stack collapses outward. I choose the squarest, flattest logs for this. I fit them together like a puzzle. Thunk, wiggle, thunk, solid. Once the ends are secure, I start filling in the middle. Bark up or bark down? That is the great debate in the north. Some say bark down lets the water drain off. Some say bark up protects the wood. Inside the shed, it doesn't matter as much. But I do it Arthur's way. Bark down on the bottom layers to let air circulate. Bark up on the top layers to shed any blowing snow. I work in a rhythm. Pick up, inspect, place. Pick up, inspect, place. It is a hypnotic dance. My mind empties of all the worries of the world. I am not thinking about the rising cost of electricity. I am not thinking about my arthritis. I am only thinking about geometry. Does this piece fit here? No, it's too triangular. Swap it. Try this one. Yes, perfect fit. The sounds in the shed are comforting. The sharp clack of dry wood hitting dry wood. The deeper thud of a heavy green log. The scritch of the rough bark against my canvas coat. The smell is evolving, too, as I split the air with movement. The scent of the wood gets stronger. I have 3 main types of wood here. First, the sugar maple. It is the king. The bark is gray and rough, plating off like armor. The wood is heavy, dense, and pale. It feels like holding a rock. This is the February wood. This is what you burn when it is 40 below zero and the wind is howling. It burns long, hot, and leaves a bed of coals that glows all night. Then, the yellow birch. The bark is golden, peeling off in paper-thin curls that flutter in the breeze. It smells sweet, like wintergreen oil. This is the morning wood. It catches fire easily and burns bright and fast to wake up the stove. And finally, the beech. It has smooth, silver-gray skin, like the hide of an elephant. It is stubborn wood. It dries slowly, but when it burns, it gives off a steady, reliable heat. I stack them all together, mixing the species. A diverse woodpile is a healthy woodpile. The wall of wood begins to rise. Knee-high, waist-high, chest-high. It is a satisfying thing to watch. It is tangible progress. In a world where so much of our work is invisible, emails sent, data processed, calls made. This is real. I can touch my work. I can measure it in feet and inches. I stop for a moment to stretch my back. I lean against the stack I just built. It is solid as a rock. It doesn't wobble. It feels cool and damp against my back. I look at the cut ends of the logs. They form a beautiful mosaic. Circles and ovals, rings of growth counting back 50, 60, 80 years. Each ring is a summer. A wide ring means a rainy year with good growth. A thin, dark ring means a drought. I am stacking history. Neighbor, I am stacking the memories of the forest. And this winter, I will unlock all that stored sunlight and release it into my living room. The wind picks up outside, whistling around the corner of the shed. Woo! It blows a flurry of dead leaves into the shed, swirling around my boots. The temperature is dropping fast. I can see my breath now, puffing out in white clouds that vanish into the rafters. My arms are getting heavy. My fingers are starting to feel the cold seeping through the leather gloves. But I can't stop yet. I have to finish this row. The truck dumped the wood in a heap, which is chaos. The stack is order. And tonight, I need order. I grab the handles of the wheelbarrow. Squeak, squeak, back to the pile. Just one more load. Then maybe one more. We are building a fortress against the winter. One log at a time. I stack the last log of the day. My arms are trembling slightly, a good, honest fatigue. The woodshed is now half full. A wall of maple and birch standing tall and proud. It smells sweet and damp in here, but the cold is seeping into my bones. The sun has completely vanished behind the ridge, and the blue hour has settled over the snow. It is time to go inside. I stomp the snow off my boots on the porch mat. Thump, thump. I open the heavy oak door and step into the kitchen. The house is quiet, and it is chilly. The thermostat on the wall reads 60 degrees. The furnace hasn't kicked on yet because I keep it low. I don't like the dry, dusty heat of electric baseboards. I like the living heat of the wood stove. I walk into the living room. There it sits in the corner, on a hearth of slate, the stove. It is a black cast iron beast, a jetool from Norway that Arthur bought 30 years ago. It has glass doors that look like eyes. Right now, it is cold to the touch. It is a sleeping dragon waiting to be woken up. I kneel before it. My knees crack on the hard slate. This is my evening prayer. Neighbor, the prayer of fire. I open the iron doors. Creak. The inside is dark and smells of cold ash. I reach for the newspaper basket. We still get the local paper. Mostly for this purpose, I take a few sheets. I crumple them up. Crinkle, crunch, scrunch. You don't want to ball them too tight, or they won't breathe. You want loose, airy balls of paper. I toss 4 of them into the belly of the stove. Next comes the kindling. I have a basket of cedar strips, split thin as a finger. Cedar is the starter. It catches a spark if you look at it wrong. I lay the cedar sticks across the paper in a crisscross pattern. A little log cabin for the fire to live in. Then, the secret weapon, birch bark. I pulled a handful of those papery curls from the logs outside. I tuck them into the nest of cedar. Birch bark is nature's gasoline. It has natural oils that burn fierce and hot. Finally, I place 2 small pieces of split maple on top. Not too big. You have to earn the right to burn the big logs. You have to build a bed of coals first. Everything is set. The architecture of the fire is ready. I reach for the box of wooden matches. I slide it open. Shish clack. I pick one out. I strike it against the rough strip on the side of the box. FFFT. Hiss. A flare of yellow light. The smell of sulfur bites the air. Sharp and pungent. I touch the flame to the edge of the birch bark. It curls instantly. It blackens, then bursts into an orange flame. Snap. I touch the match to the newspaper. It catches. Whoosh. I close the iron doors. But not all the way. I leave them cracked open an inch. This is crucial. The fire needs oxygen. It needs to breathe. If you choke it now, it will die. I listen. At first, there is just the soft crackle of the paper burning. Then, the sharp pop of the cedar catching. And then, a low, deep rumble begins. It is the draft. The heat is rising up the chimney, creating a vacuum that sucks fresh air into the stove. The fire begins to roar. Woo-woo. It is the sound of the dragon waking up. I watch through the glass. The flames are dancing now, licking at the maple logs. The birch bark is burning with a bright, blue-white intensity. The cedar is glowing red. The fire is establishing its dominance. I wait until the maple logs are charred and catching. Then, I use the iron handle, wrapped in a coil of metal so it doesn't burn your hand, to close the door fully. Clank. I adjust the air intake lever. I slide it to the right. Slide. The roar quiets down to a steady, rhythmic purr. The flames slow down. They become lazy, rolling over each other like liquid gold. And now, the magic happens. The cast iron begins to radiate. It doesn't happen instantly. It takes time for the metal to absorb the violence of the fire and turn it into gentle waves of heat. I sit in my rocking chair, just a few feet away. I pull my frozen hands out of my pockets and hold them up toward the stove. At first, I feel nothing. Then, a gentle warmth touches my palms. It feels like sunlight. It feels like a physical weight being lifted off my skin. The heat spreads. It travels up my wrists, into my aching elbows, settling into my shoulders. It thaws the cold that the November wind put there. Tick, tick, ting. The stove makes little metallic sounds as the iron expands. It is singing its song. The room begins to glow with the orange light flickering through the glass. The shadows on the wall dance. The smell of the house changes. The damp chill is gone, replaced by the scent of wood smoke and dry heat. It is the coziest smell in the world. I lean back in the chair. My eyelids feel heavy. The physical labor of the woodpile is paid off in this moment. Firewood warms you twice. I whisper to the empty room. And Arthur was right, but he forgot the third time. It warms your spirit, because no matter how dark or cold the world gets outside that window, in here, I have made light. In here, I have made summer. I stay in the rocking chair until the chill has completely left my bones. My cheeks are flushed now, pink from the heat of the jatul. The fire has settled down into a steady, mesmerizing burn. The logs have broken apart, revealing a glowing heart of red coals that pulse like a living thing. But something has changed in the room. The silence has deepened, or rather, the quality of the silence has changed. I stand up and walk to the kitchen. I fill the kettle at the sink. Whoosh. I set it on the back burner of the stove. It is not the electric stove, the wood stove. The top of the cast iron is hot enough to boil water now. This is how we do it in a storm. We live off the grid, even when the grid is still on. While the water heats up, I walk to the big picture window in the living room. It has arrived. The storm is here. It isn't just snowing, it is driving. The wind has picked up, howling around the eaves of the house like a pack of wolves looking for a way in. Woo, woo. The snow is coming down in thick, heavy sheets, moving horizontally past the glass. It is a whiteout. I can't see the trees at the edge of the property. I can't see the road. I can barely see the outline of the woodshed I was standing in just an hour ago. The world has shrunk down to the four walls of this house. I press my hand against the glass. It is freezing cold. Only a quarter of an inch of glass separates me from that chaos. It separates the warmth of my sweater from the biting wind that would freeze exposed skin in minutes. This contrast, neighbor, this is what makes winter beautiful. You cannot truly appreciate warmth until you have seen the cold face to face. You cannot appreciate safety until you have heard the wind try to tear the roof off. I look towards where the woodpile is. I can imagine the snow piling up against the logs I just stacked. It will drift over them, burying them in a white blanket. But it doesn't matter. They are safe. They are dry. They are ready. A sense of profound satisfaction washes over me. It is a primal feeling. The harvest is in. The fuel is stored. Let the storm rage. We are prepared. The kettle begins to sing a high, thin note. I walk back to the stove. I wrap my hand around the handle with a towel and pour the boiling water into my mug. A tea bag of strong king cold tea is waiting. The steam rises up, smelling of bergamot and comfort. I take my tea back to the rocking chair. Creak rock, creak rock. The room is dark now, lit only by the orange glow of the fire and the faint blue light of the storm outside. The shadows flicker on the ceiling beams. I think about Arthur. I think about how many nights we sat here just like this, listening to the wind. He used to say that a wood stove is a time machine. Think about it, Betty, he'd say. This heat? It's just sunlight that was trapped by the tree 50 years ago. We are releasing the summer of 1975 into our living room tonight. I take a sip of tea. It is hot and strong. It warms my chest. I look at the fire. I watch a piece of maple turn from wood into light. He was right. It is old sunlight. It is the memory of warm days, stored away for the cold ones. Just like the memories I keep of him. I stack them up in my mind like cordwood. And when the lonely nights come, I take one out and let it warm me. The wind rattles the window pane, a sudden gust shaking the frame. I don't flinch. I just smile. Blow all you want, I whisper to the storm. I have 4 cords of hardwood and a good book. You can't touch me. This is the peace of the North. Neighbor, it isn't a peace that comes from the absence of struggle. It is the peace that comes from being ready for it. The fire pops. Snap. A spark flies up and vanishes up the chimney. The house feels like a ship, sturdy and tight, sailing through a white ocean. I am tired. My back is sore. My hands are rough. But I am warm. I am safe. And winter. Winter is just an old friend coming to visit for a while. So, put another log on the fire. Neighbor, pull the blanket up to your chin. Let the snow fall. The world will still be there in the morning. Clean and white and new. Until then, stay warm. Good night.